But we're live. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I want you to meet Kelly Scarborough.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Nancy Jean. It's great to be here.
And she's here for the infamous 20 questions.
Oh, my.
And for those of you who don't know Kelly, if you're on from my channel, you're like, where'd she come from? Kelly came out of the stillness of 2020 and opened her, that became the gateway for Kelly to explore her own activities. She lives in the Denver area. She works psychic fairs and things, and we will put up her ways to reach her, to set up a reading and all that good stuff. So,
oh, yes. And just full disclosure, it goes way before that. I have about
you had 25 years of experience, but that's what pushed you through the door.
Yes. Thank you.
Isolation will do that.
It was, I am probably one of the, I don't know if I'm unique or not, but I loved the stillness of 2020. I loved it every day of it. I mean, even through the terror, I loved it,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so people are here. That's my machine talking to us.
Oh, no worries.
And
sure my machines don't talk.
What which could you kind of quickly outline what you do, and then we'll get into how you got from here to there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, as I said, I come to the world of woo. Well, like so many people in this space, I've been having experiences all my life. My mother was like, who are you talking to up there? Upstairs, all the time. And, I just had a lot of experiences, let's put it that way. And then fast forward, I began studying energy medicine in the, like 26, 27 years ago. Really just to treat my family at the time. And I never really did it professionally, although I would help my friends and my family. And I used a form of acupressure called high touch Jinshin, similar to Jinshin Jitsu, if you've heard of that. But it really kind of, through the years, I started to realize that I could do it remotely. So I had family across the country, and I started realizing that there was so much more to it. And then I started getting all kinds of, like light bulb moments where I was just walking along and things would pop into my head, and I knew so-and-so. I knew my neighbor had died before I knew she had died. I didn't even know she was sick. I knew if a friend's husband was cheating on her even before I should have known that. And just things were happening. And I feel like this was during 2020. And it was like my guides were like just nudging me, like pushing me, shoving me, and literally putting physical things in my path. I've told the story before about my angel shoes, where I had a foot problem, and I was thinking as I'm walking along and listening to a podcast, and there were somebody's talking on the podcast, and then she says, and it's like if your foot was really bothering you and you just, decided I'm going to get a new pair of shoes, and then your foot's healed, it makes your foot feel better. And I was just like, oh, okay. Because I had been walking along thinking, do I need to have surgery? What's wrong with my foot? And the next block, a brand new pair of New Balance tennis shoes were sitting squarely in the middle of the sidewalk. I should have brought them in. And I was just like, no way. All right, come on. And so I walked past them another block, and then I was like, oh my God, stupid. I'm listening to this podcast. They're telling me this. And then the shoes are there. And so I go back and I grab them, and I'm making all kinds of conditions. Okay, if they're scuffed at all, if they look nasty, if they're whatever, I'm putting them right back. And so I looked at them, and they looked brand new. The only thing they didn't have is the sticker, right? And not worn in the least. And so I carried them carefully home, And I walked in the door and I said to myself, if they don't feel comfortable, if they even pinch in the littlest bit, I'm not going to keep them.
Mhm.
And so I put them on, and sure enough, they fit like a glove. And my husband's sitting there looking at me like, "Well, you were just out for a walk. Why are you walking in with a pair of shoes?" And so I was like, well, you're not going to believe this, but I think my angels gave them to me.
Mhm.
Because I've been having this problem with my foot. Anyway, it was like that. I
Yeah.
just kept getting one thing after another, and so I really dove into this work and started
Mhm.
studying and taking many classes, and here we are.
Very good.
Yes.
Well, we're going to go into the 20 questions, and you've answered a couple of them, but we'll struggle on, and you can answer again.
Okay, good. And
When did you first realize that you might have psychic abilities?
Well, I mean, I have to say it might have been much younger, except honestly, in those days, it just scared the hell out of me. And anything every time I'd have an experience, I shut it down, but I would have smells, like I could smell my, you know, grandmother's perfume
Mhm.
in the room, or I would have experiences where I felt like I was surrounded by 100 people, and
Mhm.
no one's there, or things like that. So I would say probably when I was young. I also used to, when I was very young, I would dream every night in the twilight state. I would dream about my past life, like my last life. I would
Mhm.
have the experience of my last life, the very ending moments,
Mhm.
and every single night, it was pretty crazy. I mean, I could feel the sensations of I was falling in
Mhm.
this instance, and anyway, but fast forward, it really probably hit home, like I was saying, much later, like um, in my 40s, in my later 40s,
Mhm.
where I wanted to admit it, you
Yeah. Yeah, there's a difference between kinda knowing it in the back of your own mind and having it public.
Yes. Well, it wasn't public yet. I
I know.
didn't go public until probably about 6 or 7 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so it kinda gradually grew over time. You didn't have a big aha moment.
No, I never had an aha moment except for the ones that I just explained to you, where I was just, like, slammed with these ideas that popped
That
into my
I
head.
can't avoid this anymore.
No, no. Right.
Did you notice unusual experiences as a child?
Oh, yeah. So, like I said, and my mom would say that it's very interesting because looking back on it, I think I know what this was. So I remember my mom would always, yeah, I'd come down from upstairs in the morning and I'd say, just matter of fact, say, "Who was that man hanging out with me up there?"
Mhm.
And and I can describe him. He kind of, and looking back now from what I know, I honestly think he had a description kind of like the 1800s Saint Germain,
Okay.
the bearded blondish hair,
Mhm.
and that description, when I've seen it later, I'm like, "Oh," and the clothes looked old school. So, anyway, so as a young child, and then really later, I would have, like, ooh, I was probably in my 30s, my kids were pretty young, and I remember waking up, my whole bed was surrounded by angels.
Mhm.
And it scared the heck out of me. I was like, I could just see these shapes are in my room, and then I would pull the covers over my eyes and then look again, and then there were even more. It was
Mhm.
just kinda crazy. So, and that was, I can't remember your question now, but that was really kind of like the
What
mhm.
some of the experience, how did they feel? The unusual
Oh,
experiences you had as a child.
yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah. So I wasn't a child then, but oh,
But
yeah.
you get to see them differently when you look back at them. You live through it and you kinda bury it, and then all of a sudden one day you go, "Oh, shit, I did happen to me," you
Yeah.
know?
Or that wasn't normal. Everybody wasn't experiencing that.
How did the people around you react when you shared your experiences?
Fortunately, my mother has these, has some very similar gifts, which she kind of tucks into her Catholic. I grew up in a
Yeah.
Catholic household,
Mhm.
so my mom grew up. I mean, my mom always had these things,
Mhm.
very kind of introspective and quiet, and she would have experiences, but she would just. I mean, I think she accepted them just fine. Um, my dad was always into ETs.
Okay.
He read all kinds of books. So I feel like my family was very accepting, although we didn't talk about it. And honestly, then later I got married and I I wasn't going to talk about this stuff. And that's why I got into the healing aspects of it,
Mhm.
because I felt like that was a safe way to do it. Even
Yeah.
that felt weird, like the woo stuff. But later I was just like, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to pick up some tarot cards and just pretend like it's a parlor trick."
Mhm.
But I knew that I was actually, picking up what I was picking up.
Yeah.
But I will say my husband is my biggest fan. And I know a lot of people
That's
don't have
cool.
that experience. Yeah.
Well,
He's
my first husband was a Methodist minister, so you can
Oh,
imagine. So we did not speak about that within his professional group. Although I would have guys ask me in theology school about the cards and how they worked and stuff, but and he didn't not acknowledge it, and he never said don't say anything about it. But it's back then. This was in the early '70s. It was just a very different place to be.
oh yeah. It wasn't yes. It's much more I think it's much more accepted now.
Oh yeah, it's like
Mhm.
it's weird if you're not. Well, in
Yeah.
my world, it's weird if you're not.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Did you seek training? You talked about you went into healing modalities. So how did you seek out the training you sought in the healing modalities?
Well, okay. So, um I'd always been kind of interested in holistic. That's the way they called it back then, holistic medicine, right?
Mhm.
Alternative medicine. Um, and then I had the very good fortune of my first son had he had a diagnosis of sensory integration um, dysfunction. So
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if looking back, he never had a formal diagnosis, but he was probably what would have been called on the on the spectrum, right? A
Mhm.
little bit Asperger's-y, which is
Mhm.
a term we don't use anymore, but super intelligent, but also lots of anxiety and, you know, stress and things like that. So I was very fortunate to have been sent to an occupational therapist for him who included alternative medicine in their modalities.
Cool.
So they had this acupressure lady who I then became trained under, who came into the office once a week and would work on these kids. And what was interesting is they said what would have taken maybe 7 years or 10 years of treatment for these kids in traditional OT
Mhm.
was reduced down to 2 years in many
Mhm.
cases. And so I said, "Please, I wanna learn this too." So I
Mhm.
got trained by this lady, and then I've taken other courses in Reiki and other modalities since.
Cool. And
Mhm.
then are there specific tools that became part of your practice early on that you still carry on? Those
Oh,
things?
yes. I keep my cards handy and, let's see, I think I have a pendulum in my pocket. I walk around with one. My dowsing rods are my best friend now.
Mhm.
They spoke to me from day one. And I do actually on my channel, I have a show where I do mostly political or current events stuff, and I
Mhm.
let people come on and ask questions, and it's really I mean, I enjoy these very much. Very, very much. Yeah.
Okay. And do you have any mentors or teachers that you're currently working with?
Well, I'm not in any classes right now, but I see Kim Copeland is in here. I've taken
Mhm.
many of her classes, and then we've gone on to become great friends, and, I've worked with some of, Uh, we all know some of the folks here on YouTube,
Mhm.
the other Kim, Intuitive View Kim, and Debbie. I've also taken some classes from some of the folks, Colin Bates from we call it Hogwarts, but the Arthur
Mhm.
Finley College and some
Yeah.
other other courses through numerous courses. I can't even speak to them, and I have the one I haven't taken yet, and I'm self-taught in, is really astrology. So I'd like to actually take some more formal
Mhm.
education in that area, but that's an
I
area.
don't know. I don't know how you could informally teach yourself about astrology. I took a year-long course, and I was real that she said, "Oh, you're incredible at casting charts," but it took so long compared to
Mm.
laying cards. I said, "I'm not doing that."
Well, these days we don't have to do the math, right? It's
No,
all.
no. Oh, and in the days I was doing it, you had to read the ephemeris,
Oh
you
yeah.
had to draw the chart. I still
No.
have all my hand-drawn charts.
I don't think I would have done it if I had to, if that's the way it
I
was.
really understand how complicated it is at the very end.
It's really crazy.
What's the best advice they gave you?
My instructors? Oh my
Mhm.
gosh. Oh, well, okay. One of the best pieces of advice I feel like is good for all of us is trust what you are perceiving, whatever way that your clairs work. Just trust,
Mhm.
because if I think when we doubt and when we question or second guess, just like I was talking about with my shoes and with those
Mhm.
experiences that I'd had earlier, we really kind of undercut ourselves. This is the universe speaking to us,
Mhm.
right? In fact,
Right.
yesterday I was literally, I just moved a couple months ago, and I was thinking, I'm walking around the corner, getting close to my house, and I thought, this a woman I've known, but I haven't talked to her in about a year, popped into my head, and I was like, oh, I wonder how she's doing. Oh, I bet she wants my address, because it's Christmas time and people are sending
Mhm.
cards.
Mhm.
And it was just like this whole thought process. Walked in the door, 2 minutes later, she rings me, right? And so there we go. You can just say, "What a coincidence," but I just don't believe in coincidences
There's
anymore.
too many of them. It
Too
takes a
many.
lot of planning to get a good coincidence.
It really does, right? Right.
Mhm.
So yeah.
How did you learn to tell the difference between your psychic impressions and your imagination?
Oh wow. Well, again, it kind of goes back to that trust thing. Um, I think I'm kind of stubborn, because I think through the years, like, especially early practices, and just
Mhm.
I would chalk it up to this, again, coincidence, or oh, this can't be correct. Oh, I'm making this up. This is in my head.
Mhm.
Like, especially when I'm doing like a mediumship reading. Um, it's really easy to say, you know what? I'm just imagining that she liked lemon meringue pie because I like
Mhm.
lemon meringue pie, or whatever it
Mhm.
is. But, if it pops into your head while you're doing the reading, you have to just honor that, and you have to say what you're feeling.
Mhm.
That's one of the hardest things when you're doing a reading, even if it sounds absurd, is to say it, just to say
Mhm.
it, and half the time that's when you notice that your sitter, um, a tear comes to their eye because you struck a chord. So that's one of the things that I've really learned.
Yeah, I know. My angels used to slap me on the back of the head when I go, "What if the cards aren't gonna work tonight?" When I'd be sitting at the wine bar ready to read, and they just slapped me and they said, "Don't worry about the cards. You just tell them what the card says. That's all you have to do."
I'm
And
sorry, I have a visitor.
you have a friendly cat. My cat, she sees me come near the computer and she goes, "Oh, she's gone. Bye. I'm out of here."
This is my grand kitty.
Oh, is that one you inherited from your son?
Yeah, the one who just moved to the UK I was telling you about, and he's probably gonna be shipped off to the UK soon, so we're loving
Oh,
having him.
cool. Gonna love a month of isolation when he first gets there.
I don't know that they have that now.
Do they not still have that? Because that
I
used
don't
to always
think
be a
so.
big deal.
He didn't. I mean, I think my son would have told me, but secretly hope he stays with us because he's a cool cat.
Oh, good. And then, okay, now, there've been moments when you've really doubted yourself. I mean, seriously, seriously. And then how did you pass through that?
Well, you know what? Listen, I'm gonna say, I haven't been, doing this as long as you, Nancy Jean, but you'll know that what I'm talking about when I say we all have moments of doubt, and they come and they
Mhm.
go, where you're feeling more connected and less connected. And, life gets busy or takes over, and you have to just, breathe through those moments and recognize that it's going to come back to you.
Mhm.
Um, and then but it is interesting because I do feel like if you keep the faith or continue to trust what you're getting, um, then they're going to give you validations that really kind of confirm that you're
Mhm.
experiencing what you're experiencing. So you just have to sort of push through those moments, just like any other area of life, honestly.
Mhm.
We all have troughs, valleys, and peaks, right? So we just have to really kind of push through and try to hold on to hold on to whatever little bit they give you. That's
Okay.
what
According to Elizabeth, quarantine for animals into restricted zones has gotten very short because of new protocols. Yay!
Oh, okay. Thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate that. Yeah, my son has really kind of researched all this. The only thing
Mhm.
that's sad about this little guy is, and he hates to be in the carrier. He's on my lap
Oh,
down here. Um, they don't let them fly in the
coach in the
passenger area. They have to
no.
go down below,
Yeah.
and that sounds dreadful. He's
I
drugged.
used to work for the airline. I won't scare you half to death. It is.
Yeah,
Um,
I think they've improved because I know that they used to not have proper temperature controls and
oh,
things.
they've gotten better about that. They got
Yeah.
their butts sued into the ground for that.
Oh, yes. Right.
How do you handle skepticism for yourself from yourself when you're skeptical about what you're doing or from others?
Well, okay, I can give you an example or from others because I'm kind of past my skepticism for myself. But all right, one of my sisters used to say when I told her I was doing this, and I had to keep it light with her, like the parlor trick
Mhm.
with the cards, right? Oh,
Right,
hey,
right.
let's throw some cards. Um, she would say, "Well, I'm not really into that kind of thing, but if it floats your boat, okay, whatever."
Mhm.
That was her way of dismissing what I do.
Mhm.
But I just said, "Yeah, you know what? It's just what I just really enjoy it. So,
Here I am.
deal with it." And the funny thing is she has now sent friends to me for mediumship readings.
Cool.
And she had a friend who was having all these really weird things in her house. And so she sent me to her house this summer when I was visiting her back east, to just go sit in the energy and see what was going on in the house. And,
Mhm.
so I was like, all right, well, I won her over. I think most people are more accepting than they will let on to.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you find yourself as you grow and move through your skills having strong and weak periods of time?
Yes, that's exactly what I was just talking about, those peaks and valleys. And I think sometimes, I think sometimes those little valleys are times when, our development is given an opportunity to sort of absorb and learn and grow, and we need a little break.
Right.
And we need a little break. And so in those times, I just accept it. I push on, but I try
Mhm.
to also give myself, you know, do whatever healing work I can for myself, um, get more rest, do all those things on the physical level that I can,
Mhm.
meditate, as I can. Because sometimes we have times, everybody probably knows this, when we can't. I mean, it's really hard to get into a good meditative state,
Right.
right? And and then other times you're just connected. So I, I don't really have any special tricks, probably the same as anybody else, right? Know that this too shall pass.
Okay. And how do you protect your energy?
Oh gosh, interesting. Just even last night, I do the bubble of white light protection, and I
Mhm.
like to ask for, um, I just like to ask before I go into a deep meditation or into a reading for, only beings of love and light to come into my sphere. I was doing, I went to bed early last night because I was having one of these moments, and I was like, I'm just going to go meditate and really kind of do some healing, you know, binaural beats and listen to
Mhm.
that sort of thing. And sometimes I have faces pop into my mind as I'm in that state, kind of like, and this is sort of that mediumship clairvoyant thing. And I had something scary pop into my mind really quickly, and I
Oh.
realized I hadn't really bubbled up, you know?
Mhm.
And so I just said, okay, thank you. You're not welcome here. And I put on my protection and everything was good. But I don't really get too worried about that because I do believe that I'm always surrounded by love and light and my angelic presences and spirit guides.
Do you have any go-to rituals that you use?
You know what? I'm surprisingly few, except for
Mhm.
what I was just talking about.
Okay.
I do. I'm not as ritualistic as some because I like to believe it's with me all the time. You know,
Mhm.
um, I like to believe that. Oh, what is Craig saying here? He has to apologize for something. Oh, Bryce Canyon. That's a story. I could tell you about that. But I like to believe that I'm always, for the most part, protected. I'm not one who really, I know that there are some dark entities out there, but I don't feel like I feel like I'm protected by
Mhm.
them pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you do?
what do I do? Oh, I build a bubble around myself every day before I get out of bed.
Yes.
That's
That's
cool.
about,
That's
that's about
tiny
it.
on the outside, and I can see through it, and it just reflects all their energy back on them
Mm.
if they're walking around. And I trust my guides. I have a big guardian named Frank, who's an energetic guardian,
Of
and
course, he's named Frank.
well,
I
his
love it.
name was Francisco. He's from Albania originally, but anyway, the first time Kim Copeland ever read me, she said, "Oh, can I see your guides?" And I said, "Sure," because the two I have are Addie and Frank. So I said, "Guys, you can go show yourself to her." And I heard Kim gasp, and she said, "Can you call him back? He filled the room." I mean, he's huge.
A big guy.
It takes a lot to get past Frank.
Yeah. Yes. And somebody here did comment. It says, "Do you do moon water, Kelly?" She's from my channel. Thank you, Liz.
Mhm.
I like to set a glass of water out on the full moon
Mhm.
and just and I will usually do the how do you Emoto method. I write
Mhm.
words,
Right.
around it that are like love, light,
Loving, caring words. Right.
compassion, all those things, healing. And then I will make, and I don't have one here, but I'll make a spray. I'll use that water to make a spray,
Mhm.
or I'll just drink the water the next day. Um,
Mhm.
so that's a monthly ritual that I do, but I don't really have those daily rituals except to bubble myself up and just keep my angelic team close.
That's the best thing to do. Okay. Do you think psychic abilities are innate, or can anyone develop them?
I think we all have them. I
Mhm.
do. I just think some people are born with them stronger, and that those might be the people who kind of go crazy because they're just constantly bombarded. But I think we all are born with them. Like I said, we shut them down. Uh, I think we have the thing is, I think that most good psychics and mediums practice just like any other.
Mhm.
If I want to be a good painter, I'm going to take classes, and I'm going to seek out the masters and really kind of work with somebody to develop my skills. And the same is true here. It's about learning good practices, so that we're really kind of providing. I take this very seriously. I want to provide a, a very healing um, session with people. When they walk away, I want them to feel protected and loved, and, feel that there is something more. And so I feel like
Mhm.
that's really important. Yeah.
What signs might someone notice if they're gifted? Have you been around people that are their gifts are
Oh my
waking up, and what
gosh.
kind of made them say,
Yeah.
something's happening here?
Well, okay. I have this great friend who, I've always said, even before I started, practicing, I was like, you are psychic because you're constantly coming out with things that you shouldn't know. Oh no, I'm just really observant. And it's those people, who just seem to
Mhm.
be one step ahead. Or, and sometimes, you're in somebody's presence and you can just tell that they are just so deeply connected, whether they know it or not. They have
Mhm.
a connection. And so, sometimes it's more like intuitive and other times it's more like they just say spooky things to you, and you're like, all right, now.
Okay, that enough of that.
Yeah. Yep.
How has this work changed your worldview or beliefs about life and death?
Oh my gosh. I think when I was younger, I was always terrified of death, you know. Um, and now I just realized that it's it's home.
Mhm.
That's our home. That this is just an expression of a larger spirit that we come from. And that we're here for experiences. So, I mean, I like anybody, I don't want to get sick and I don't want to go through cancer and I don't want to go through all these things. But I know that ultimately we choose these things and we have our challenges for a reason and we go back to spirit. We go back from where we
Mhm.
came.
Okay.
Yeah.
And uh, what are some of the more powerful readings that you've done, and what made them memorable to you?
Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I would say, okay, here's a recent one that I've talked about recently with on my channel. I oh gosh, it was only about 2, 3 weeks ago. I was so this is prior to the reading. So this is leading
Mhm.
up to the reading. I was lying in bed and I was
Mhm.
in that twilight state, and I heard a child talk in my right ear. I mean, it was clear
Mhm.
as day, and it was like, and the message was something like, hi, what do you wanna say?" Or, "What do you wanna tell me?" Or something like that. It was a very kind of brief exchange, and
Mhm.
it wasn't an exchange, it was just one way,
Mhm.
and it was clearly a child's voice. It was a voice I had never heard before. And then I just kinda drifted back off, and then a couple minutes later, I just had the impulse to open my eyes and look off to the other side, and there was a child coming toward me it was a very kind of, um, hmm, etheric,
Mhm.
but it was very clear. I could see the
Mhm.
brown hair, and he looked like he was about, I don't know, 6 or 7 or something, 8, I don't know, and moving toward me and didn't feel scary, and then it just sort of vanished. And so fast forward, I was doing a psychic fair the next day. And, that the night before, I had said, you know what? I'm curious whether I'm going to meet somebody tomorrow who has lost a child. And sure enough, I actually had 2 readings from different women who they had both
Mhm.
lost children. And, and I honestly feel like this was kind of a message for both of them.
Mhm.
Interesting the way they do that, but particularly one of them whose child had died. He was a teenager, but I think it came through to me the night before as a child so that I knew that this was someone's
Mhm.
child. And, anyway, it was quite interesting, but it was just a validation for them and for, really for them that they know that their child is safe because he felt so happy and joyous to me.
Mhm.
Scare me. So that was a recent one, and I wouldn't say that wasn't the most. I mean, it was an unusual encounter because I don't usually see children in my room.
Yeah.
But other ones where I've had experiences where, she's part of this community, actually. It was one of my very first mediumship. readings. And I was getting a woman, I could see a woman who I knew was her mother, and she
Mhm.
had died not too long before, and she showed me a bowl of lemons. And,
Mhm.
this bowl of lemon, I almost poo-pooed it and didn't say anything because this was early days. And then I said, she keeps showing me a bowl of lemons, and I don't know why. And she just broke down. She was like, that was her daughter's name is Lemmy, and her
Oh.
mother called her Lemmy Lemon. And Lemmy was very, very close with her mother. It was her, that
Mhm.
was her favorite grandchild, and she used to go to the hospital to see grandma all the time. And so it was really, and I'm getting a chill right now. It was a nod from mom, her mom, that she just wanted to, express her love for Lemmy, right? That she
Mhm.
knows she's looking out for her. And I would say that was my most impactful, only because that was the day I was like, "Oh, I," at the time, I didn't really know if I had mediumship skills,
Yeah.
but that solidified it for me.
Yeah. It's when you get that hit that and they go, "Oh my god, they told me that about this person that they'd never had met."
Right.
And and you're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. Yeah. And how odd, like, who wants to talk about a bowl of lemons? That was so weird,
I
but,
know.
again, that was that validation that you just have to say what you're being shown, you
Okay,
know?
how do you deal with sensitive or complex messages?
Ooh.
You kind of have a strategy in place when you see one coming?
Well, first of all, I'm not they're not gonna show me, mm, I don't receive those messages like, "Oh, you know what? You're gonna die in a fiery crash
Mhm.
tomorrow." I mean, I can't say that I've ever received that. I get warnings sometimes, like, about maybe reckless behavior, or, you might wanna check your tires or something like that, but
Mhm.
I don't ever they're not gonna show me that. Now, for instance, the one about the neighbor who was about to die, that was
Mhm.
a little freaky. Okay, so I'm walking down the street, and I heard in my ear, I heard, "She will not be with us long." And I'm thinking,
Mhm.
what do I do with that information? Now,
Yeah, I know.
this was not during a reading. I wasn't gonna go, knock on their door and say, "Hey, is everything okay?" And it was the next day that I learned that she had passed. She had tripped and fell and had a brain bleed and was gone. Um,
Mhm.
but I didn't know this until the next day. Um, anyway, I just feel like even if it's a difficult reading, like maybe we're tapping into a family member who is sorry for some bad behavior, right?
Mhm.
And you do see that. Um, you just deliver the message with love and say that their spirit sees, sees everything from a 360-degree view now. And they still send you love. Whether you want to accept it or not is your choice. But they still send love and light, and they are still a part of your soul family.
That's
You know,
right.
right?
Mhm.
You learned lessons from this person in life.
And what advice would you give someone who's just starting to explore their gifts?
Oh gosh. Well, I would say study, 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 practice, practice, practice. Again, this is a skill. We have our innate abilities, but really it's a skill set as much as anything.
Mhm.
And then um, stop doubting yourself.
Mhm.
Like, don't question every little thing that you get. I mean, people will sometimes ask the same question over and over, and you're like, you're you've got the answer right there. Why are you asking that question? And I think it's because we doubt, we doubt, we doubt, and we have to stop that.
Yeah, I find that when I have someone who keeps asking the same question with different nuances, trying to come at it different ways, I keep saying, you've gotten an answer. Work with that one. When
Right.
you understand that one, then we can go on to the fine print, you know?
Exactly. Right. Right. Because it's either they don't want to believe it, or they, again, it's a distrust, or maybe it's not the answer they wanted to hear.
What do you wish you'd known earlier when you were exploring your gifts?
Mm. Well, I want to say that I wish I had started exploring my gifts much earlier,
Mhm.
because I spent a lot of time in fear as a kid.
Mhm.
I slept with the light on every night, you know. So I wish I had really, first of all, accepted the fact that this isn't like, I mean, there's too much Hollywood garbage out there, the ghost coming into the room and that kind of stuff. Um, so I wish I had stepped out of the fear. And I also wish that I had the nerve to sort of come out of the woo closet, so to speak, earlier.
Mhm.
Because, I have now with my friends and family, I still find myself having these little twinges, though. Like, uh, I feel a little uncomfortable telling somebody I don't know very well, like, oh, yeah, I'm doing a psychic fair this weekend, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I'm still working on that part of it, but, I'm better at it. I think it's bravery.
Yeah,
And
one thing I think is really important is for people to learn to tell people who are taking care of them, healthcare professionals and stuff, who they are.
ah,
Because all of mine that I've pulled in since I started doing that, you find out that they came from a class of shamans from Colombia, or their aunt is the second most popular astrologer in India, and so they go, "Oh, I know how you are. You're not wired like we are."
right.
And they're not dismissing us, they're just saying you're not going to report things in some ways the same way another person might.
Right, right. That's true. I know you told me your story about your recent health scare, and I saw that
Mhm.
Dr. Gail was here. That was a beautiful story about how she sent one of her healing guides in.
Medical Mike came and he got the IV in me that they couldn't. I can still in my mind see the three people bouncing up and down on my right arm trying to get a vessel here. He shows up with the sonogram machine, goes over to the left side, scans it, puts one in here, tapes it in, and says, "Don't touch it," and then leaves. And I knew it was Medical Mike.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that that is so true, though. I mean, sharing who we are is something that none of us should be afraid to do, and this goes for every walk of life, right? This
Right.
goes for, whatever, your sexual preferences and all the other everything. We should just not be afraid of who we are. And I think unfortunately we have a lot of baggage from, a millennia for thousands
Mhm.
of years that shut us down. We
Mhm.
don't wanna be embarrassed, we don't wanna be different, we don't wanna be ostracized, or, in the old days, you'd be burned at the cross, right? Um,
Mhm.
but now I do think we carry that stuff with us, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I feel like I must have been a healer a long, long, for many, many lifetimes. Um, and there still is that weird thing where you're like, when you send healing energy and you know that you're affecting somebody else's um, physical body or their emotional
Mhm.
body, then I think it's important to just kind of recognize it, own it, tell people what you're doing, and they may be skeptical, but they may come around too.
They may come around, and the other thing is if they really don't wanna be there, why should you want them around you if they're gonna be draining on you? Why are you dreaming about Greek islands?
Thanks, Kim. Oh, I bet I've started having just crazy dreams in the last, I've had dreams for a while, but, so last December, well, my first one, before I talk about the Greek island, I had a dream right after the election of I was kind of a fly on the wall, and I could see somebody walking through the Georgia polling place
Mhm.
during the bomb scare. Remember they had
Mhm.
bomb threats?
Right.
Um, Walking past with, like, an RFID sensor or something like that, that changed the algorithms and downloaded new
Mhm.
something from like Skylink or Starlink or something like that.
Mhm.
I knew it. I mean, I don't dream in that deep level of detail, so I knew it
Mhm.
was something important. Um, we all suspect some election tampering, and that's what I was dreaming. They were showing it to me. But the Greek island, I had a dream. It was last December, and I dreamed that I was like on a tour, on a
Mhm.
vacation tour on a beach, and it was crescent shaped, it was beautiful blue water, um, and I was looking around, and the person next to me goes, "Oh, don't you know, I love Santorini, my Santorini." And I was like, uh, and I could see the shape of it. It was a crescent, but there was like an inlet or an
Mhm.
outlet to the ocean, to the open ocean, and
Mhm.
could see mountains up on the other side. Anyway, and so they said this to me, and I turned them in the dream, and I said, "You know, we're standing on a caldera." And
Mhm.
these are weird. Like, why would I be dreaming about the word caldera? I had to go look it up practically when I woke up.
Mhm.
Um, so I woke up, and I didn't even know where Santorini was. I thought it was Italy.
Oh.
So I knew it was somewhere. So I looked it up really quickly, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, something weird is there." I'm dreaming about a caldera, which is the top of a volcano.
Mhm.
Well, within that month, um, Santorini had to evacuate the island because they were having so much seismic activity that
Mhm.
people's houses were crumbling, and tourists were sent away, and all this stuff. And so I still think there's going to be a volcanic event there, like there was, like thousand. I think the last one was quite a while ago.
The one that took away the Minoans.
Exactly. Exactly. It was cataclysmic. And I also believe I knew in this dream that there would be it would also cause like a tidal wave onto the mainland of
Mhm.
Greece. And anyway, so these are things that, we'll wait and see, and I hope that it doesn't happen.
If it blows up, you don't want to be in Israel either, because
No.
last time that happened, it went in what 5.5 miles. The
Oh,
wave
yeah.
went. Yeah,
Yes. Yep.
you
Yep.
don't. I don't understand people wanting to live where volcanoes are anyway.
No.
No offense to my friends in California, I'm sure they're lovely.
Of course. Well, and I know we're about to see some. I think they're warning people of activity in. I think I'm pronouncing this correctly. Campi Flegrei, which is near Naples, Italy.
Oh yeah,
Kind of
well
all
that
on the same fault line.
that whole area is just
That
anyway.
Oh yes, and they've just had some recent, like their land has thrusted up so much from all of the
Mhm.
magma below that people's houses are ruined, and they're starting to evacuate. So, we send our prayers, and we hope.
Yeah, the biggest caldera in the world is at Yellowstone Park.
Yeah, I live close enough that I will be a piece of
My
toast.
brother owns one of the first pieces of privately owned land outside of Yellowstone. So I figured if
Uh,
Yellowstone goes, he's fried.
oh yeah.
And and he's like, I don't care. I like living here. Okay.
Well, I mean, hopefully not in my
And
lifetime.
I've never sensed that he was going to get fried.
What's that?
I never sensed he's going to get fried.
No, I mean, I think it might be a while, and I think it's gonna be after
Yeah.
I'm gone from this area, but I don't know.
Anyway,
Just
any daily speaking, let's get on to other things other than who's going to be turned into a crispy critter. Any daily habits or exercises that you recommend that you've used that you noticed made a real change in your life?
Yeah. Well, in the healing realm, I like to do something every day, um, that I call it running the energy. And so I just, I imagine like you do when you're meditating, I imagine really kind of planting my roots
Mhm.
all the way into the core of the earth, um, as a release of energy.
Mhm.
And I imagine energy coming in from above, but, from outside of me, coming in through the top of my crown and filling my body and kind of
Mhm.
creating a fountain of healing energy.
Mhm.
I like to do it every day as much as I can. And, you let go what you no longer need into the earth to, for Mother Gaia to recycle it back into good, healthy energy, and you keep what heals you. So I like to do that daily.
Yeah, that's a really good one, because
Yeah,
I think that's a pretty easy one to feel.
exactly. And I say use, speaking of using imagination, use your imagination. Feel that energy come into your body, whether you're making it
Mhm.
up or not. It's, we're manifesting. So it's real. It's real
Mhm.
in my mind, and I can see it.
There's real energy in the world, folks. Honest, it exists. How
Absolutely.
can someone find a trustworthy psychic community or mentor? You live in Denver where there's tons of them.
I'm pretty lucky. Yes, we have a lot of, woo arts here, I like to call it. I live very close to Boulder, which is also highly connected.
Mhm.
There's a lot. We even have a Naropa University here, which is, you can get a degree in meditation or in Reiki and all these
Mhm.
these things. Um, just up the road here. Um, but we're just so fortunate that we live in the time of the internet. I would go online and find a course or a class, and usually from these classes there are spin-off like practice groups, and you make
Mhm.
friends, and you learn what they're taking and who they've taken classes from. Just do some research on the internet. That's what I would say, unless you have a local resource. That's the best way.
Right,
Yeah.
and cost doesn't relate to quality.
That's absolutely right. And I'm gonna plug, like, Kim Copeland. She
Kim's a
does
good
great
teacher.
classes, guys, and they're very reasonable. So, check out Kim's classes. Absolutely.
Okay, and what's the biggest lesson you've learned so far in your psychic journey?
Oh gosh, I've probably said it, 3 times before. It's really about, well, there are a couple things. First, trust. Like I said, I've
Mhm.
said this over and over. You just have to really kind of trust that what you're sensing is real,
Mhm.
and it's true, and you're receiving these feelings or senses for a reason. And
Mhm.
um, and the second thing is, um, well, I would say, we live in a really uncertain world, right? I
Right.
don't think I have to tell anybody that, where there's a lot of chaos. But it's interesting because the more I broaden my worldview and my universal view, the more I realize that we're all just sort of a part of a bigger plan and a bigger,
Mhm.
we're here for a reason at this time, and that that things happen for a reason, and we can flip out about every little thing, or we can just ground ourselves and trust that everything is eventually things don't stay horrible forever. One day this chaos is going to end, and we're going to be on the other side of it. And so just hold the space. Hold space for those around you who are maybe freaking out. Model
Mhm.
that to them. Some people say to me, I don't know, maybe some people tell me that I just have this very calm, like I'm almost like, maybe you have to check me for a pulse every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I wasn't always this way. I used to have panic attacks, and I used to let every little thing seep in. And now, you just bubble up and you trust that it's all going to be okay. That's what I say. It might be Pollyannish too. I know.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
We have to mirror to the people who see us, get a chance to see us.
Yes.
That, you know, trust me. I mean, there were days when I wanted to go into the back corner of the closet and pull all the old dirty clothes off the floor around me and hide,
Oh,
rather than come out.
yep.
So it's when you hear about, that's why I want people to talk about their journeys, because it's important for us to understand that we weren't all born on
Yeah.
this mountain sitting there being happy with the
Right.
guru.
Yeah, yeah. And I think you said that you kind of like me, I was the sort of different one in my family as we speak, even though my mom had some of this. But didn't you say that you were the one child of your siblings who, had these different beliefs and wanted to explore other things that are unseen?
Yeah.
So, we just have to I think if we all just really followed our passions and our guidance,
Hmm.
um, it would be such an easy place to live in,
It
right?
would be, it's like my sister died and a devout atheist. And she had become an atheist when we were teenagers, and there wasn't anything there. But she went and sang in the choir and did all the stuff because you had to go to church, whether you
Oh,
liked it
yeah.
or not. And when she died, um, my three siblings put together her funeral service, and they didn't invite me to participate in choosing someone. It was just outside DC, and I knew one of the deacons at the National Cathedral who would have come out and done the service, and they would have done it with an understanding. Well, anyway, my daughter and I walk in, and it was done in the room of a memorial park kind of thing. And they had her urn up there, and then they had all the urns of all of her dogs and cats.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
Not any ex-husbands or anything like that?
no, she had an ex-husband, but he didn't have the good sense to die yet. And so we pull up, and my daughter goes, "What's that?" And it was a guy playing a bagpipe. And I said, "Oh, that's the Scottish side of the family showing up." So they had this guy playing a bagpipe outside, which just freaked my daughter out. She thought that was the funniest thing she'd ever seen. And so we go walking in, and we meet the guy who's going to be the officiant in the service. And he has this big, broad tie with some biblical verse from Corinthians written on it. And it was one that let me know there's no way, And he was talking about how wonderful when he kept calling her Elizabeth. We called her Anne when she was younger. She became Elizabeth as an adult. He said, when Elizabeth walks through the pearly gates, and he was one of those. And I'm sitting there, and I go, and I'm sitting there next to Casey, and I lean over and I whisper, "No one will be more amazed than Elizabeth when she goes through the pearly gates." and it was like such. And my daughter talked to me about it later, and I talked to my brothers, and they said, well, one of their friends knew this guy, and he was new to the area, and they thought he'd work. And I said, that's not the church we went to. And I said, just get her they were putting her in a place somewhere in the memorial park. But it was so disrespectful.
Yeah, right. For what their wants would have been, their wishes would have been.
Just
and in the end.
But I could see it if it made my brothers feel better.
Right.
But they knew it was BS too. I mean, I'm like, how could you sit there and not fall out laughing? So we all went off to my sister's favorite restaurant and got extremely drunk.
Well, that's
Irish funeral.
I know. I remember my grandmother and my grandfather's, my grandmother O'Brien's wake was quite interesting.
The name says it all.
Exactly. It really does. But, in the end, it doesn't, it would be disrespectful, of course. And it's really more disrespectful to the living, those of us who knew that she wouldn't like that. But, on the other side, she's probably laughing.
Yeah, she would. By that time, you get past all that anger and frustration, whatever you have. But anyway, speaking of anger and frustration, we don't have any here. We're having a good time.
Oh, no, we don't have any here.
And I try to keep these things to an hour, and we're hitting up in 59 minutes. I want to thank everyone who came. I want to thank Oil Painter for her generous donation. And I want to remind you that you can reach Kelly at kellyhealing.com.
Yeah, that's my email. And my website is, I do readings, so it's kellyhealing.com. My son came up with the name. I'm probably going to change it.
Well, Kelly's Healing. So what's wrong with it? Anyway, I really thank you all for being here. I I don't think I have another one of these till next week.
Ah,
Right.
I know you've been a busy lady.
It's been crazy, but I kind of want to get a bunch of you in before the end of the year because I think people will be sitting around Christmas looking for something to listen to. So we're as good as
Yeah.
anything else.
There we go. Well, thank you so much for having
Well,
me here.
thank you, Kelly, for coming on and sharing.
It's good to get to know you, and thank
Bye-bye.
you for all